Hi everyone, welcome back to the Investing Iguana, where we talk about all things related to personal finance and investing. I'm your host, Iggy, and today we're going to tackle a topic that many Singaporeans are curious about. How much do you need to refund to CPF after selling your property? If you're a homeowner who has used your CPF savings to buy a property, you might be wondering what happens to your CPF money when you sell your property. Do you get to keep all the sales proceeds as cash? Do you have to refund everything back to CPF? How does CPF calculate the interest that you have to pay back? And what if you don't have enough money to refund CPF after selling your property? These are some of the questions that we're going to answer in this video, so make sure you watch till the end. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Alright, let's get started. What is CPF and why do you have to refund it? First of all, what is CPF and why do you have to refund it when you sell your property? CPF stands for Central Provident Fund, which is a mandatory savings scheme for Singaporeans and permanent residents. Every month, a portion of your salary goes into your CPF account, which is divided into three sub-accounts: Ordinary Account, OA, Special Account, SA, and MediSave Account, MA. Your CPF savings are meant for your retirement needs, but you can also use them for other purposes such as housing, healthcare, and education. One of the most common ways that Singaporeans use their CPF savings is to buy a property, either a HDB flat or a private property. When you use your CPF savings to buy a property, you can either use it for the down payment or to service your monthly housing loan installments. However, using your CPF savings for housing means that you will have less money for your retirement. This is why CPF requires you to refund the amount that you have used plus the interest accrued on this amount when you sell your property. The interest accrued is equal to what you would have earned if you had kept the money in your CPF account. Currently, the interest rate for OA is 2.5% per year, while the interest rate for SA and MA is 4% per year. The interest rate for OA is adjusted quarterly based on the 12-month average yield of 10 years Singapore government securities plus 1%, subject to a minimum of 2.5%. The interest rate for SA and MA is pegged at either 4% or the 12-month average yield of 10 years Singapore government securities plus 1%, whichever is higher. The reason why CPF charges interest on the amount that you have used for housing is to ensure that you do not lose out on the potential returns that you could have earned if you had left the money in your CPF account. This way, you can still enjoy the benefits of compound interest and grow your retirement savings over time. So how much do you need to refund to CPF after selling your property? The amount that you have to refund depends on several factors, such as A. How much CPF savings did you use for your property? B. How long did you own your property? C. Did you receive any housing grants? D. Did you make any voluntary refunds before selling your property? E. Did you pledge your property to withdraw your retirement account savings in cash? F. What was the selling price of your property? And G. Did you have any outstanding housing loan? To calculate the exact amount that you need to refund, you can log into the CPF website using your SingPass and check under My Statement Property. You will see a breakdown of how much principal amount and interest accrued that you have used from each subaccount, OA, SA, and MA, for your property. The general formula for calculating the amount that you need to refund is principal amount plus interest accrued equals total amount. For example, if you used $100,000 from your OA to buy a property and sold it after 5 years, the total amount that you need to refund is $100,000 plus $100,000 times 2.5% times 5 years equals $112,500. However, there are some exceptions and variations to this formula depending on your situation. Let's look at some of them. Housing grants. If you received any housing grants when buying your HDB flat, such as the Enhanced CPF Housing Grant, the Family Grant, or the Proximity Housing Grant, you will also need to refund them with interest when you sell your flat. The interest rate for housing grants is the same as the interest rate for OA, which is currently 2.5% per year. For example, if you received a $40,000 housing grant and sold your flat after 5 years, the amount that you need to refund is $40,000 plus $40,000 times 2.5% times 5 years equals $45,000. However, if the grant amount to be refunded is more than $30,000, part of it may be credited to your SA/RA and MA instead of your OA. This is to help you build up your retirement and healthcare savings. For example, if you received a $50,000 housing grant and sold your flat after 5 years, the amount that you need to refund is $50,000 plus $50,000 times 2.5% times 5 years equals $56,250. Out of this amount, $30,000 will be credited to your OA, while the remaining $26,250 will be split between your SA/RA and MA according to a fixed allocation rate. The allocation rate depends on your age group and is shown in the table. So in this example, if you are below 35 years old, out of the $26,250 that is not credited to your OA, $9,712.50 will be credited to your SA and $2,100 will be credited to your MA. The total amount that will be credited to each subaccount is OA, $30,000. SA, $9,712.50 and MA, $2,100. Voluntary refunds. If you have made any voluntary refunds before selling your property, you will need to refund less when you sell your property. A voluntary refund is when you choose to return some or all of the CPF savings that you have used for your property with interest before selling it. You can make a voluntary refund at any time as long as you own the property. Making a voluntary refund can help you reduce the amount of interest that you have to pay back to CPF and enjoy the attractive interest rate on your CPF savings. However, once you make a voluntary refund, you cannot withdraw it again unless you sell your property or meet the withdrawal criteria. The amount that you have to refund upon selling your property depends on how much you have voluntarily refunded. If you have fully refunded all the CPF savings that you have withdrawn for your property with interest, you will not need to make any refunds. If you have partially refunded the CPF savings that you have withdrawn for your property with interest, you will need to refund the balance CPF savings that you have used with interest. For example, if you used $100,000 from your OA to buy a property and sold it after 5 years without making any voluntary refunds, the total amount that you need to refund is $100,000 plus $100,000 times 2.5% times 5 years equals $112,500. But if you made a voluntary refund of $50,000 with interest after 3 years of owning the property, the total amount that you need to refund is $100,000 to $50,000 plus $100,000 to $50,000 times 2.5% x 5 to 3 years equals $56,250. Property pledge. If you are aged 55 and above and have pledged your property to withdraw your RA savings in cash above the basic retirement sum, BRS, you will also need to refund the pledged amount in addition to the principal amount and interest accrued when you sell your property. The BRS is the minimum amount that you need to set aside in your RA when you reach age 55. The BRS for members who turned 55 in 2021 is $93,000. If your RA balance is more than the BRS but less than the full retirement sum, FRS, which is twice the BRS, $186,000 for members who turned 55 in 2021, you can choose to withdraw up to half of the difference between your RA balance and BRS in cash. However, if you do not own a property or if your property has less than 30 years of remaining lease at age 55, or at point of sale, whichever is later, you will need to pledge your property to withdraw the cash above the BRS. The pledge amount is the lower of A, the difference between the FRS and BRS, or B, the value of your property. For example, if your RA balance is $150,000 and your property value is $400,000 when you turn 55 in 2021, you can choose to withdraw up to half of the difference between your RA balance and BRS in cash, which is $150,000 to $93,000, divided by 2 equals $28,500. However, to do so, you will need to pledge your property for $93,000, which is the difference between the FRS and BRS. This means that when you sell your property, you will need to refund $93,000 plus interest to your RA. If your property value is less than the difference between the FRS and BRS, then the pledge amount will be based on your property value instead. For example, if your RA balance is $150,000 and your property value is only $80,000 when you turn 55 in 2021, you can still choose to withdraw up to half of the difference between your RA balance and BRS in cash, which is $150,000 to $93,000, divided by 2 equals $28,500. However, to do so, you will need to pledge your property for $80,000, which is the value of your property. This means that when you sell your property, you will need to refund $80,000 plus interest to your RA. The interest rate for the pledge amount is the same as the interest rate for RA, which is currently 4% per year. Selling price and outstanding loan. Another factor that affects how much you need to refund to CPF after selling your property is the selling price and outstanding loan of your property. When you sell your property, the sales proceeds will be used to pay off the outstanding housing loan taken to buy the property and refund the CPF amount used for your property. The order of priority for using the sales proceeds is as follows: A. Legal fees and other incidental costs. B. Outstanding housing loan. C. CPF refund, principal amount plus interest accrued plus housing grant plus interest accrued plus pledge amount plus interest accrued, and D. Cash proceeds. This means that if the selling price of your property is not enough to cover all these expenses, you may end up with little or no cash proceeds after selling your property. However, you do not need to top up the shortfall in cash if the selling price, including any option monies, is insufficient to refund the CPF amount used with interest after paying off the outstanding loan. This is provided that the property is sold at market value. For example, if you bought a property for $500,000 and used $100,000 from your OA and a $40,000 housing grant to pay for it. You also took a housing loan of $360,000 from a bank. After 5 years of owning the property, you decided to sell it for $550,000. The outstanding loan balance at that time was $300,000. The total amount that you need to refund to CPF is $100,000 plus $100,000 times 2.5% times 5 years, plus $40,000 plus $40,000 times 2.5% times 5 years, equals $157,500. The breakdown of how the sales proceeds will be used is as follows: A. Legal fees and other incidental costs, assume $10,000. B. Outstanding housing loan, $300,000. C. CPF refund, $157,500. D. Cash proceeds, $82,500. However, if you sold the property for only $450,000 instead of $550,000 due to a market downturn or other reasons, the breakdown of how the sales proceeds will be used is as follows: A. Legal fees and other incidental costs, assume $10,000. B. Outstanding housing loan, $300,000. C. CPF refund, $140,000. And D. Cash proceeds, $0. In this case, you will not have any cash proceeds after selling your property. Moreover, you will not be able to refund the full amount of CPF that you have used with interest. The shortfall amount is $157,500 to $140,000 equals $17,500. However, you do not need to top up this amount in cash as long as the property is sold at market value. The shortfall will be recorded in your CPF account and you will not earn any interest on it until you make a refund. How to check how much to refund to CPF after selling your property. As you can see, the amount that you need to refund to CPF after selling your property can vary depending on different factors and scenarios. To avoid any surprises or disappointments, it is advisable to check how much to refund before you sell your property. This way, you can plan your finances better and decide whether it is worth selling your property or not. To check how much to refund to CPF after selling your property, you can log into the CPF website using your SingPass and go to My Statement Property. You will see a summary of how much CPF savings you have used for your property and how much interest is accrued on them. You can also see a breakdown of how much you have used from each subaccount, OA, SA, and MA, and how much housing grant you have received. You can also use the property with outstanding loan calculator on the CPF website to estimate how much sales proceeds you will receive after selling your property and how much you need to refund to CPF. You will need to input some information such as the estimated selling price, the outstanding loan amount, the CPF savings used, and the interest rate. The calculator will show you an estimate of how the sales proceeds will be distributed among the legal fees and other incidental costs, the outstanding housing loan, the CPF refund, and the cash proceeds. It will also show you if there is any shortfall or excess in the CPF refund. However, please note that these are only estimates and may not reflect the actual amount that you need to refund or receive after selling your property. The actual amount will depend on the actual selling price, the actual outstanding loan balance, the actual legal fees and other incidental costs, and the actual CPF savings used and interest accrued at the time of sale. How to reduce the amount that you need to refund to CPF after selling your property. If you are concerned about having to refund a large amount of CPF savings with interest after selling your property, there are some ways that you can reduce the amount that you need to refund. Here are some tips that you can consider. Tip 1. Use less CPF savings for your property. The less CPF savings you use for your property, the less interest you will accrue and the less you will need to refund when you sell your property. You can choose to use more cash for your down payment or monthly installments instead of relying on your CPF savings. However, this may affect your cash flow and liquidity in the short term. Tip 2. Make voluntary refunds before selling your property. As mentioned earlier, making voluntary refunds can help you reduce the amount of interest that you have to pay back to CPF and enjoy the attractive interest rate on your CPF savings. You can make a voluntary refund at any time as long as you own the property. However, once you make a voluntary refund, you cannot withdraw it again unless you sell your property or meet the withdrawal criteria. Tip 3. Sell your property at a higher price. The higher the selling price of your property, the more sales proceeds you will receive and the more likely you will be able to cover all the expenses and refunds after selling your property. You may also end up with more cash proceeds after selling your property. However, this may depend on factors such as market conditions, demand and supply, location and condition of your property. Tip 4. Pay off your outstanding housing loan before selling your property. The less outstanding housing loan you have when you sell your property, the more sales proceeds you will receive and the more likely you will be able to cover all the expenses and refunds after selling your property. You may also end up with more cash proceeds after selling your property. However, this may require you to use more cash or CPF savings to pay off your loan, which may affect your cash flow and liquidity in the short term. So there you have it, a comprehensive guide on how much you need to refund to CPF after selling your property. I hope this video has helped you understand how CPF works when it comes to buying and selling properties and how you can plan your finances accordingly. And if you are wondering whether CPF Life is sufficient for a comfortable retirement for you, then click on this link to watch the next video. In this video, I will explain what CPF Life is, how it works, and how much monthly payouts you can expect to receive from it. I will also compare CPF Life with other retirement options and show you how to calculate how much you need to save for your retirement. By the end of this video, you will have a clear idea of whether CPF Life is sufficient for your retirement needs or not. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family who might find it useful. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of our latest videos. This is Iggy from the Investing Iguana, signing off. See you in the next video. Stay safe and happy investing.